Hello, educators. I want to share some tips with you to get you off to a great start with your school year. I hope these things will be useful to you in your classroom. This year, I'm teaching a combined grade class, so I will be keeping some of my students from last year. Therefore, I needed a new idea to celebrate their birthdays. I found these slap bracelets to replace my birthday pencils. I think they'll be really excited about them. I'm also thinking I will probably hand them out at the end of the day so they're not tempted to fidget and play with them all day long. But I think they will be excited about them. There's a variety of different styles and colors, so I think they will be a hit. I'm really not sure why it took me 30 years to think of a good way to store their inside shoes. I have coat hooks in my classroom, like you can see in these pictures, and so I would have students hang their inside shoes up at the end of the day in a little bag on their hook. The plastic bags would always rip and tear, and the shoes would end up on the floor, and the students wouldn't half the time realize there was a hole in their bag, and so they were always misplacing their shoes. Now, of course, we have switched to paper bags and cannot easily access plastic bags anymore. So the students were bringing in cloth bags, but they take up so much space between these cloth bags, their bags that they put their extra clothes in, and then their backpack, and often they have an additional lunch kit on top of that, and plus their coat. So it becomes a lot of stuff on two little hooks. So I have stapled up these shoe bags onto either side of the wall, like you can see in the picture here. And one part was really thick, so I had to make sure that I stapled in the thin parts so that it would adhere to the wall really well. I made sure I stapled each shoe box to the wall without the pocket being stapled to the wall so that it should be really secure so the kids can put their shoes in easily and take them out easily. I'm going to make it so that my taller students have the higher pockets and my shorter students have the lower pockets. I think that will make it easy. And then they'll all be labeled with their name. We can see who's left their shoes on the floors, and the custodian will be able to clean up our cloakroom area at the end of the day. These are my latest purchase, little 10 frame Poppets. I've always loved using 10 frames in my classroom, but sometimes, the students might not have 10 pieces. It can take a while to hand them all out. The pieces can end up all over the floor, and then they end up with 11 or 9, or you know how that goes. Or the 10 frame paper itself gets bent up, it's folding. I've laminated some and then they curl and they have to put school supplies on the ends of those. So this just makes it super easy if I want to do a quick activity with a 10 frame. I think I will still, of course, use the old way that I was doing it with the paper 10 frames, and then use different manipulatives like rocks and counters and Unifix cubes and all of those things as well. But if I want just a super simple, quick to hand out 10 frame, I am definitely going to use these. They can pop them, if they're just learning their numbers, we can pop them one at a time to 10. We can use them to practice skip counting by twos. We can do one more, we can do one less. We can use them as a referent of 10 as well, so that we could start with them. We can pop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then maybe add some manipulatives beside them to count on, to work on those teen numbers as well. So tons of ideas that we can do with these. I like the easiness of them. I like the colors as well. My hope is that those numbers stay on there. If they do happen to wear out, my plan is to get a silver Sharpie, rewrite them, and then use clear nail polish over top to make it last longer. These are an amazing find for me because you know how those dice end up all over your classroom. The kids are trying to roll them and there's dice everywhere, and they will say, "Teacher, I've lost my dice. I can't find one." And then they spend half of their math activity time looking for their dice. So these I bought completely self-contained in these little plastic containers They are ready to go. They're very small dice, as you can see beside my hand there to give you a size reference, but I just love them. I think they're going to be amazing, and we will not have dice all over our classroom. Now there are 3 in here, so if I had some lower kids where I only wanted them to work with 1 or 2 dice at a time, then of course I would get a little container and give them individual separate dice to use. But for those kids who are ready to do their math games with 3 dice, these will be the perfect thing for them. I found these little mini erasers that I want to use with their mini whiteboards that they keep in their desk. Last year, I used these little handkerchiefs, and I found that the kids kind of lost them really easily. They ended up all over the floor. They ended up with so much ink all over them too that it just looked really messy, and I think some of the kids didn't like that, and so I kind of feel that they would find them on the floor and they'd throw them out because they looked like they were supposed to be like a used Kleenex in the garbage. Is kind of what they looked like because they were white. So I found these cute little mini erasers. I'm excited to use them. I'm thinking that I might just put numbers on the back of them with a Sharpie and then keep a list of who has what number. So I'm not sure how long, if they're going to last more than 1 year, but if I have students move in and out of my classroom throughout the year, then it's easy to say, oh, so-and-so has number 5. If we find it on the floor, this student has number 7. So then we can get them back to those students who they belong to. So I'm really excited to see these work in my classroom this year instead of the regular cloths that I've used in the past. I really love these. A few years ago, I had a principal make me these out of pipe fitting and putting 2 pieces together. And then I just found these are really inexpensive. They're a little bit thin. They're small enough that they should fit my students really well. But what you do is you hold one end up to your mouth, one end up to your ear, and then you talk into it. And it really amplifies that sound. It goes right into your ear. So if you are learning sounds in your classroom, you can say the sounds directly into your ear when you're practicing your individual letter sounds or your digraphs, your blends, or if you're learning to blend words like CBC words or getting even higher than that. You can use these with your students so that they can hear themselves read, and it gets them really excited, and then they can also hear the language that they're using. So these have been amazing for that purpose. The other reason that I have these is because often we have those students in our classroom who are extremely loud, and they have no idea how loud they speak when they're playing with their friends, or when they're working in a partner or group activity, or they're just working by themselves at their desk. We all have those students. Maybe you have students with exceptional needs. I had one student 1 year, and she would scream really loud. And so she was nonverbal, but I could put this up to her mouth and her ear, and then she could hear how loud she was. And even though it took her a little bit to figure out what I was trying to show her, she did start to kind of figure it out. And so that's a great tool too. So I hope you like that one. And my next thing that I really like to do is start with a soft start in the morning. So I have the students come in when the bell rings, they do their morning jobs, and these are what they do. So the first thing I have them do is hang up their coat, hang up their backpack, put on their inside shoes, which they'll get out of those little new shoe cubbies I have now. They put a chair at their desk. I have them keep a water bottle at their desk. So much research shows us that if students are well hydrated, they will learn better. And so my rule is just water. You cannot have anything else in that bottle, because if it spills, water just dries up easily. But if it has juice or flavoring or anything else, it's not allowed in my classroom. So I just keep those at their desk. If we're going to do like an art project or something, we just put the water bottles on the floor beside our desks, or we put them in the backpack if we're going to make a bigger mess. But most of the regular days at school, we have water bottles at our desk. The next thing they have to do is put their name on the board. This is how I do attendance. So on the first day in my class, I give them little pieces of manila tag, and they draw a picture of themselves. I would give them an individual mirror at their desk so they can look. What color is my hair? What color are my eyes? What color is my skin? What else do I notice about myself? Is my hair long, short, medium? Do I have glasses on my face? So it really gets them thinking about themselves and how they look. I do the cutting of them out because often they'll end up so small that they are not very good for me. And also I'll make an oval on their paper for them so that, again, we don't end up with a head that's really, really big or really, really small. I've changed. I used to make bigger ones and now I make them smaller so they take up less room on my whiteboard. But every day I'll have a question on the board. For example, do you like apples? Yes or no. How did you get to school today? Walk, drive, ride a bike, ride a scooter. In the beginning of the year, it helps me get to know them and them get to know each other with questions like, do you have a brother? Do you have a sister? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Do you have a bird? How many people live in your house? So I ask those kind of get to know you questions. And for my non-readers, they will ask a friend or they will listen to the other children reading the question or they will come and ask me. And then after they've done all of their jobs, they get to go play centers. Now my mornings start at 8:30. So by 8:45, we have done all of these things, including playing centers. Those students who need a little bit more time to transition in the morning may or may not get to their centers. But for many of them, having a quick play time at the beginning of the day, number one, gets them really motivated to get all their morning jobs done. And number two, have you ever been anywhere where you just go straight into work and not talk to people around you? Like, for example, if you go to a professional development workshop, do you just go straight into the content of your workshop, or do you talk to your colleagues first and, talk about your morning, say good morning to each other, maybe talk about something that happened the previous night? Most of us tend to want to talk to other people before we actually get started in our day. So by giving the students a chance to play centers, it gets them to talk to their friends. It gives them a little bit of time to get their wiggles out, get their talking out. And then when I ring my little tambourine to say it's cleanup time, they know they have 1 minute to clean up. And if they don't clean up quickly, then we won't have center time later in the day. And this strategy works quite well. I will give them the cleanup time. I'll put on a little video that we do for our next activity. And then if they're not cleaning up quickly, I start to do a countdown and then they know it's time to clean up. So I mean business when it's time to clean up in the morning. It's an excellent way to start our day because then I can talk to those parents who are at the door. I can help those students who are having trouble transitioning into the classroom. Sometimes we have people come to the door. We have announcements in the morning. So lots of things going on in the morning. This frees up my time because they know exactly what to do in the morning. I really hope that you enjoyed all of my classroom hacks. A lot of the materials I showed you in this video did come from Temu. I do like to buy things from there because they're inexpensive. You can, of course, buy these things at your local teacher store or Amazon or wherever else you find your school supplies. I hope that this was super helpful. Please give me a like, a comment. You can share the video and you can subscribe at Teach with Deb. Have an amazing day and a great start to your school year.